Hello, Robert speaking.
Hello, Robert. It's DJ-Glos here from Sound Fusion Radio. How are you?
Excellent. How are you?
Yeah, very well, thank you.
Thank you for calling.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And whereabouts are you at the moment?
I'm just sitting in a Wax recording studio, which is the place where Personal Life spends a lot of time, in East London.
Wonderful. Oh, you're not too far away.
Yeah.
We're South London. Then we're just the other side of the Crystal Palace Tower. So there you go.
Oh, beautiful.
There you go.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Are you okay for time? Are you okay for an interview now?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I was planning, looking forward to speaking, to elevating your afternoon.
Well, that sounds good to me.
Yeah, man. Thanks for the invitation. Definitely, I'll follow your lead.
I wanted to ask you, and this is as much a personal question as it is part of personal life. And how did it all start with you with music? What was the thing with you?
Okay, so how much time are we going to allocate to this? Because that's I'm a colorful dude. I could be a long one. So how did what start? How did I get into music, or what drew me into this type of this sound, or why am I here on this planet?
Well,
what are the questions?
Well, the answer to why you're here on this planet, I know you know the answer to. But
oh, good. Can you tell me?
You mean you don't know?
Oh man,
No,
I stopped asking that question a long time ago.
I hear you.
Yeah.
No, really, I guess the sort of 70s-y kind of dance feel that you have is very unique to that era, and yet, you formed in 2010 and you're producing a sound that is that time, and I guess I was kind of interested where that started with you. Yeah,
okay. Well, that's a great question. All right. Well, basically, the process is my career in a nutshell started when I was, I guess, about in my early teens. Playing in the band. I started when I was a child on piano. And played some drums. My mom bought me some drums, and I used to play this little keyboard. And anyway, my mother is a big part of my inspirational life in that she's an artist. And for a lot of years, I kind of was the child behind the mom in terms of her artistic light and her output. And she's still a very successful artist in Canada. She paints oils. And so she was really encouraging. My parents encouraged me to be creative. And I always saw my mom going out to work as being, going out to the studio and doing her thing and then coming back into the house. And that was her job, So I guess to me it made sense. That's what mom and dad do. So my dad was sort of her facilitator, if you like, or her manager. And, it was very much a grassroots thing. We don't come from aristocracy. It's just like literally creative people who have, a family tradition of evolving forward in that light. So, around the time I was 13 or so, I had a synthesizer and I was reprogramming stuff that I would have heard, like, my first record. It's really interesting. This is something I think will take you to the next question, but I'll answer the first one in sequence as we go. So my record collection when I was young, and this will sort of put it in context as far as when I was born. I was born in 1974. Okay. So, my record collection around 11, 12 years old was, those first records that you have, some of which might be great, but most of the ones that I had, was what I was listening to. I was in a very small town, and, my mother's originally from the UK, so I kind of had, I guess, some European influence. But musically speaking, I was listening to the radio and watching MTV. And so I was listening to the Culture Club and Paul Young and Level 42 and the Police and Duran Duran and whatever was top of the pops then. Thompson Twins, all this kind of stuff. I was, 11 or 12. And my friends, I come over, like I'd play this stuff on keyboards because, you get like, I remember The System, like that song, You Are In My System. Anyway, by The System. I had that on a flexi disc that came in my keyboard magazine. Like you buy this keyboard magazine, it's like a magazine, and that was in there, and I remember it, and it had this synth funk bass, and I was like, oh my goodness. So I was trying to reprogram that, and then my friends came over, and they just didn't get it, because we were living in a small town, and they wanted to listen to Van Halen, and I was like, I like Van Halen, I like Van Halen, but still, it was kind of like, I just didn't fit in.
Yeah,
so moving forward, and all those records, all those records I was listening to, every single one of them, without exception, was a UK record, and that was totally unintentional. I wasn't even conscious of where they were coming from, and my mom wasn't buying them for me. Yes. So, clearly there was pop, what was happening in the world, but there was a lot of American stuff, too, and I started playing in bands, was playing guitar because I realized girls don't like keyboard players, or so I thought, so I kind of got into guitar.
Yeah.
And, had some sort of out-of-body experiences, through exploration of my teenage development, and got into heavy rock. I was listening to Zeppelin and Jimmy and Black Sabbath and all that kind of stuff, and I really got deep into guitar, and also had a singer-songwriter approach. So I was very much inspired, by sort of the Canadians like Neil Young and Joni Mitchell and people like that, and the equivalent of having something tangible in that time period, as an independent musician, was a song. That was your thing. You didn't have a computer. You had, so you had your guitar. I had my guitar. You had your piano, and you had your song. So I used to write songs, and that's what I did. So at the time I was about 18, I was playing in bands in the area, and we were doing our thing, regional, pretty successful. Friends come out and see us, and I moved to the big city in Toronto on my own, and so I got signed. I got signed to a major label around the time I was 18 as a singer-songwriter. And so I did two or three different records, albums that I'd written over, I guess, say a period of when I was about 18 to when I was about 23 or 24. And I think the stars just hadn't fully aligned for me, and all the while I'm living in a metropolitan area. Yeah. I hadn't really ever heard this house music, I had never heard house music, didn't even know what it was,
Wow.
So I was, So, and this was about 1999, up until about 99. Yeah. So then 2000 came, computers came, and I was at a point where, I'd done a lot of performing as a solo artist, as a singer-songwriter. It just wasn't coming full circle round, that whatever my ambition was, the destiny thing was just not going there. So I got into production because I realized I really want to be able to express myself unlimited without conditions, restrictions, what have you, and now the technology makes it possible. Now this was the early days, but still you could have a computer, you could have your own quotes recording studio, much like the synthesizers would have, as the 80s provided house music producers with access, or hip-hop producers with access to the tools that allowed them to be quotes a producer. That whole Pro Tools revolution, if you like, allowed a whole other generation of people to move that forward. So I went into a record shop. I got exposed to some amazing electronic music, which was along the lines of like Jazzanova, Bugs in the Attic, that kind of thing. Wow. And I was just kind of creeping into like Herbie, and I'd already had a basis in jazz, but it wasn't like immediate. So now it was becoming very apparent electronic music was cutting edge to me. I was like, this is like muso heaven, because there's musicality plus futura going on at the same time, innovation going on. This is around 2000. Yeah. So that's what really took me into it. I was mixing bands. That was my job at the time. Was working in live sound, and then I opened my studio, and I had a studio in my bedroom, and then that became a house, and so I was working at the time in mixing and recording a lot of hip hop and commercial, soulful, but yet commercial R&B, because in Canada at the time there really was not a great amount of money or opportunity in any kind of music that was underground. That was happening in Europe. So all the while I'm working behind the scenes. That was something that really opened a door for me around the time that I heard Herbie Hancock and really got deep into things like Roy Ayers. First time I heard Roy Ayers' Sunshine, it was like hearing Jimi Hendrix, like Machine Gun, like Band of Gypsies. It was like, wow. The vibe was so thick on that track that you could cut live. And I really took a love to whatever was happening in the energy of what is affectionately known in this country as black music. In America, black music would be called, that'd be racial to say that. You wouldn't say it was black, you'd call it soul music or whatever. But here, affectionately, that's how it's called. And I just felt like all of a sudden it was starting to make sense to me, and so I was producing tracks at the time. I was working in a studio, which was my own. It started as a bedroom studio, and then it expanded to, basically a house, and I was working in a lot more the commercial side of mixing and recording. So I was working with hip-hop artists, and I was working with a lot more kind of commercialized sort of soul artists, because in Canada, the underground stuff wasn't really seeing the light, in terms of money, so this was my job. Yes. But behind the scenes, I was mixing, I was creating my own stuff, and I was working on electronic music. So I sent my first record came out, I had stuff along the lines in the rock world and some different things with some different bands and my own thing. But really, when it started to come to light that I would be an artist in my own right as Robert Strauss, that would have been around 2005. Yeah. So I've had a first record come out on Osamade's label that was called Yoruba Records. And I did a track for them, and that came out on Soul Jazz. And then there was another track I did that came out 2 or 3 years later, but blew up huge and was licensed by separately by Kenny Dope and Charisma, and also by Louis Vega. So it was this kind of like 10-minute long kind of epic house tune, kind of like Wayne Gardner. I don't know if you know who that is, but anyway, it was very it was fusing the musicality with, the funk with the technology, which is, where musicians are coming from. And so from there, I created an album, and I sent it off to some labels, and the one that they wanted to release it was an English label, was a British label called Free Range Records. Yes. And I respected Free Range a great deal because one of the artists that was on there, I really loved the record. It was called Stateless at the time. It was great. And Yukimi Nagamo, who was from Little Dragon, yes, the vocalist, was on that label, and a couple other people, Esperanza, what's her name? Elsa Esmeralda. Anyway, it was a great album, and so I had a first album there, and I started to come over to Europe to DJ a little bit, and then I went back to the studio and did an album, a bigger album for me that came out on BBE, which was kind of like the next level. Had a lot of featured artists like Bauten from Slum Village was on it before he passed away. I did that in Detroit with him, and Leroy Burgess was on it, so I started to collaborate with Leroy Burgess. And great. Yeah. Some other artists who are also coming up as well. So I did stuff like that, and basically I moved over here. So that takes us to the current, around 2007. So I guess if I'm drawing a picture here, basically the recurring patterns are this. All of the music that I've ever really been influenced by seems to have been largely filtered through the UK, and most of the, in fact, all of the musical success that I've ever found is always been through the UK. Every label that's ever released my stuff has always been an English label. So, and that's unintentional. I think it's just telling me something about, the composition of my DNA, So, I'll pause there and basically indicate that, there would be a new chapter, and that new chapter is the beginnings of personal life. Yes. So around 2007, I moved to the country, and I was doing some DJing in support of my last album for BBE. One thing led to another, but at the end of the day, when you take a risk as an artist, which is what, I aspire to do, I think anybody should who wants to kind of make new headway, yes. You end up with sort of these big periods of isolation, where you really have to go into your own realm, and you have to kind of take a chance in the fact that the universe may not respond. You could be out on a limb, and you may just stay out there. So anyway, so I was doing writing for commercial film and TV. So I was basically creating all kinds of stuff, backing shows for songs for TV shows, and also getting commissions as well. I did about 8 albums, no more than that, I did 8 albums of house music that this label basically paid me to do, and then they released all these tracks under other people's names. So it was good for me because I'd never really, had success financially on that level. And what it did is it allowed me to just focus and study on what I really wanted to do, which was personal life. So I think what was happening is that, we all, depending on our age, well, not we all, depending on our age, we come from that sampling generation where hip-hop happened, and obviously the holy grail of that stuff is James Brown, and 60s, late 60s and 70s, funk, soul, disco, that kind of thing. So I think the break wall, or the wall that seems to keep people at bay, or the tide, is that what was involved in making those records is very much a nature, a symptom, or what would I say? It was very much a sign of the times. Those albums, you look at the back of them, there's 40 or 50 people involved. You've got singers, you've got songwriters, you've got engineers, you've got mixing engineers, mastering engineers. Yeah. You have an artwork person.
You'd easily have 50 people on one. Yeah. It's typical of that.
And you got a string section. You got a string section. You got somebody funding this whole thing, and there was an ecosystem and music business and structure. And
5 or 6 on the horns.
Arts,
exactly.
Yeah. So that was much more possible then, So a lot of young people coming up today, they're looking at a computer, they're looking at samples, they're looking at what's within their reach. But I think for me, it was time to go to that next level. So basically, I studied piano. I totally self-taught, and also I had already played guitar for like 10 years, and I basically got into bass. Bass guitar became my primary instrument. And then and piano for writing. So I literally just went into this total vacuum of self-discovery where my icons and my heroes were not necessarily either living or active. A lot of people, their peers, and they're people who are out there doing things today. And I just thought, I'm going to do what challenges me, what moves me. So I started to put together this concept of how I could literally make the albums that I was listening to the way that I heard them, and figure out how to achieve that, and in a way that was authentic so much that it actually made me feel the same way that the original albums did. And so I sort of structured my life around that. I built a studio, a live recording studio, which is called Wax. Recording studio, and work with all kinds of artists. So it's a great opportunity then that I'm inspired and collaborating, at the best of times with some really incredible talent through here. But it's also a platform for my art. It's also a place for me to have access to the tools that allow me, to record the full band and to have the creative tools to make it work. So the Personal Life record, took about 2 years to make.
Wow.
It was a big undertaking. It was by far and large the biggest challenges I've taken on in my creative life. So, so there's the answer to your question.
Well,
that's where Personal Life came from.
That sound that you produce, that's kind of unique in its similarity. Is there a pattern there? Is there a method, or is that just your ear, or?
Well, there's a creative process which is unique unto every individual, and what works for, Keith Richards doesn't work for Sting, probably two very different approaches, or similarly to Keith Jarrett versus, Charlie Mingus, who knows. But I think if you really break it down, the thing that I marvel at, one of the things that I just accept and love, but I just generally don't understand, is people say to me quite a few things recently, which I am so humbled by, and I am encouraged and enthused and inspired and driven, when I hear these things. They say, we haven't heard music like this in a long time, and it sounds got that vintage feel, but you guys are making real music. People don't make real music anymore.
Yeah,
and I don't take that in the ego sense. Like, oh, okay, we're keeping it real. It's more like, why are they saying that? Because a lot of people are making real music. Let's be honest. A lot of jazz musicians are making statements that are totally, unfettered by, whatever, a commercial endeavor. They're just saying what they want to say, and that's real. But for some reason, in commercial music, people are not making real music. You know, as a point of experiment, you know, I put on what was like top 40 yesterday.
Yes.
So I listened to Spotify just to hear what was the top 40 in the UK, and then alternative, and went through some different charts, and I was just shocked by what I heard, you know.
Totally.
And I think most people feel that way, and it's kind of getting to a point now where the divide gets wider. You know, you've got the people who know the difference, and then you got the others who either just haven't been exposed to it or wouldn't begin to know what the difference was because it's just too far a divide. Generally speaking, so the two comments I hear are, wow, you guys are making real music and it's really amazing and you keep doing it. The other thing is that I hear a lot is, you know, you guys have this like classic sound, but it sounds like new. And I think that's interesting because to me, I'm really just so, you know, focusing on the records that I love, and there's nothing new sounding about them. You know, there's no synthesizers on. Like, I don't understand how our stuff sounds new, and I don't think I ever really will. But, you know, people say that to me a lot. They say it sounds contemporary. Yep. And I just feel like saying, I have no idea how that is. I'm happy you think so. You know, I don't know how that happens. All I know is there's not, you know, it's not modern sounding music to my ears. So those are interesting things. Yeah.
I think it's really great. And the point being, I think, is that the spoon feeding of music that goes into that top 40 that you're talking about, you know, it's not the same creativity. Very often what's in there is tunes, like you said, made out of a load of samples from tunes from days gone by. But what you're creating is, you know, a unique new tune which is written and performed using proper instruments, acoustic instruments, and so on. And the feel you have and your dynamic is fantastic. You know, when you listen to your music, you know, Classic Lady or anything on this album I have here, it brings that feeling. It's a feeling, you know, that goes around that dance soul era. And although your music is new, the feeling is there. You know, for an old soul boy like me, the feeling is there. You know, I want to dance when I hear your tunes.
Well, that's an amazing honor. You know, that's an amazing honor, you know, because this is not, the reason it's called Personal Life is because it's my personal life, and it now belongs to everybody else, basically. But the concept is, this is what I love. This is not what you're supposed to do as a sane individual in the music industry in 2013. This is what everybody I know in the music industry says. Oh, but that's you know, that's not the sound of today, but that's what we like. It's like I really hear that a lot. It's like, oh wow, like, can I have a copy? But yeah, you know, I'm not sure there's any market for this. You know, it's like, oh, okay, so half the world likes this stuff, but yet there's no market for it because you haven't seen the vision of, you know, maybe the future of where we could steer things if we think a little bit left to center. So I think, you know, as precocious as or presumptuous as it is for me to say that, our music is very political. I mean, it's outwardly political on rare occasion where we're talking about issues in a song like One Step Closer, where we're walking through that kind of like inner city blues mentality of Marvin Gaye, or that what's going on. It's the same story of humans and greed and all that stuff that we just haven't learned and evolved and moved forward. But where it rings true and rings back to what you were saying about the creative process and also about the feel of the music that we're making, okay?
Yes.
It's a value system. It's a life commitment to being a person that you believe you want to be. Okay, so for me, it goes in a lot deeper, as you would hope, you know, than just the sound of like some nice strings and a catchy melody. No, it's not. It's much more than that. So my heroes are people like Maurice White, you know, people who had a spirit vision for the planet, you know, who had the ability to draw people together, to congregate around this positivity. You know, that's where I'm coming from. That's where this is going.
Real motivators, real speakers. You know, people that have a message to give that is received, as opposed to a message to give that isn't. Yeah, I'm with you.
you know, a couple of people who are keeping the flame out there today. I mean, Gregory Porter definitely, you know, is somebody who's the real deal as far as I can tell.
I love Gregory. Yeah, we interviewed him only last week, actually. You know, he was interviewed by our jazz show, and we're very, very, very pleased to do that. Our DJ Doug Chant interviewed him, and there was like this, you know, it was very much about the music, and that's what Sound Fusion Radio is all about. You know, this music that nobody listens to. We're a radio station that exists because people do listen to it, you know, and we have a lot.
Absolutely.
We have a lot of listeners from America that listen to the UK stations because they just don't get what they grew up with in America anymore. You know, and thank goodness for the internet to provide it. You know, that's the thing.
I think, you know, I hope we're at a tipping point similarly to, you know, Benny Goodman pre-Elvis, you know.
Yes.
That, you know, the market, the doors are ready to swing wide for the revolution, you know, of whatever the sound is. You know, it might be soul-inspired, it might be folk-inspired, it might be what have you. But the sound will be authentic, and that this is a personal kind of extension of people's souls that is then, you know, I guess commercially available, like to the mainstream, you know, which the best of the projects have been. You know, when you think about stuff that's really blown people's minds, you know, the Beatles or Jimi Hendrix or, you know, coming forward to, I guess jazz is such the obvious stuff because it's really, you know, it's really music connoisseurs music, but more mainstream, you know, even something like a Nirvana, you know, someone who, you know, who broke through the doors, or definitely Bob Marley, you know, these are the kind of artists, or any of that, you know, any of those sort of
Wonder, maybe.
Breakthrough times, you know, when you just like, it's enough with all that stuff, you know. So, I hope that's what's coming, and that's what we're doing. We're doing it internally. And much like yourself, you know, you believe in something, and that's fulfilling, and that's enough. You know, you put it out there to the world, and then you wait for the world to receive, and that's cool. You know, that's the beauty of kind of being at peace with yourself, really.
That's really great to hear. That was wonderful. And you're doing like a rework competition with your music, because one of the guys that I've had him on one of my shows, actually, Young Pulse. He's a reworker. He's done a rework of one of your tunes there.
Oh wow! Okay.
And, I was listening to it up on Mixcloud yesterday, so it's wonderful. I left him a few comments, and just really interested in what that's about.
Yeah. Okay, well, there's a bunch of stuff that's happening with us at the moment. Basically, just to kind of contextualize what this is. Personal Life is a 10-piece live outfit. We perform sometimes with a full band, sometimes with a 7-piece band. Yeah. Live strings, live horns, just like the original kind of approach to getting down and funky, you know. Yes. So we have an album that came out, what was it, I think about 2 months ago. So it's out now, it's available, called Morning Light, and it's all original music. There's one cover on there that's a reinterpretation, and I'm going to leave it for the music diggers to figure out what that song is about, because we wanted to kind of, you know, give it that highbrow approach for those people who are really into, you know, the rare groove and all that stuff. Yes. So the album is out on Expansion Records, CD, and very soon vinyl. We've had a request for vinyl. So if you're interested, you can go to Soul Brother Records website. Great shop, great guys. You should get to know them. And they have the vinyl. Yep. Yeah. So they have the vinyl down there for sale if you want to pre-order, because it'll be out, I think it's going to be the end of this coming week. It's going to be shipping. So that's for sure limited. So anybody who wants the vinyl, grab it now. And then the CD is available on the Expansion website or in shops. Now, we also have, through divine intervention, another label who's been very instrumental in this whole thing kind of post the conception in terms of release, and that's a label called Tokyo Dawn Records. Tokyo Dawn Records, most notably, is probably known through the channels of, soul via Gregory Porter, because the 1960 What remix was done by a guy named Opolopo, who I know most of you guys know who he is. He's kind of one of these soulful, very interesting cats who's got an interesting approach. So his stuff's come out on there, and some other artists. Omar's got some tracks on there, and Heidi Vogel's got some tracks. So anyway, they approached us and asked us if we wanted to do something with their label, and just taken by surprise, I said, I don't see why not, So, yeah, Tokyo Dawn has a remix competition that they put out to the general public, and now they are encouraging us to vote for the top contenders. I think originally we had 70 remixes in, now it's down to 10. 70 as in 70, so it was amazing to hear all the different takes on things.
What a great response. Wow, yeah.
Yeah.
That's great.
So definitely head down to if you basically any of these mentions that I'm making here, you can find links on the Personal Life website. So instead of dropping all these web links, if you're interested in anything I'm about to say or just said, check out personallifetheband.com. So just getting through any other sort of new stuff that I wanted to kind of get out there and make everybody aware of is we have a show coming up with a American artist called Bilal.
Yes.
Bilal is performing on last year's Grammy Award-winning Best Soul Album Best R&B Album of 2012 went to Robert Glasper. And Bilal's on Robert Glasper's record. And Bilal's part of that very small circle of kind of, neo-soul originators along the lines of Badu and Jill Scott and D'Angelo and the rest of it. So we're looking very forward to performing on October the 24th with Bilal. We're doing an opening set for him and his concert. It's at Islington Assembly Hall.
Wow.
And the tickets are going fast. If you want a discount on those tickets, go to our website. We got a special code for AGMP Concerts, who's been promoting it for us, October 24th. So we'll be there with the 7-piece band and looking forward.
What have you got sort of coming up in the future? What are your plans for Personal Life then going ahead from the things you just talked about?
Okay. Sure. So we've got some more releases coming out. As I say, we've got a few compilations that are special, that has some unique mixes on. I don't really want to give away the secret before it's hatched. But Expansion and Soul Survivors have something special coming along, and they've got an amazing track listing there with some of the most amazing soul artists that I can think of. And so we've got a special unreleased outtake from one of our tracks coming out there, and something the DJs I think will really appreciate. So look out for that Soul Survivors compilation on Expansion Records this fall. We've got some more remixes coming. If you're interested, you can download the top 10 remixes for free of the remix competition via our website or via the Tokyo Dawn website. We have also a few well-known artists who are doing some remixes for us, so that'll be coming. In the new year, we'll be doing some more live shows, possibly in London, but looking to do some shows in Europe. So if anyone listening is a promoter out there and has a desire to feature our group, at a festival or anything, do drop me a line, because we're now booking for 2014. Last but not least, we also have the new album that we're writing. So so the story continues.
You're not resting then. There's no rest involved here.
Yeah, we're moving forward.
No rest, forward. Good man. For you. Absolutely brilliant.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for your time. It's been a joy speaking. And please know that you have a friend in Personal Life. Anybody and everybody who wants to say hi, please just drop us a line and say hello. We'd love to hear from you. And, all the best. It's been a real pleasure speaking to you.
And you too. Your fans absolutely love the music that we've played through our station of yours. We've had you on rotation now for a few weeks, and your tunes are going down really well. So I don't know if there's anything you'd like to say specifically to them, but I'll leave you some time to do that.
Thank you for listening to my creative vibrations. There's not really anything I can say except that I'm very, very happy to be here in this world, man. And every single day I just try and give thanks and doing the good work of trying to just give people something that is of value, something that I know will, at the very least, be nice to listen to and brighten up their day. And, yeah, thank you. That's all I can say is thank you for your support, and everybody who writes and everybody. This is an organic, living, breathing thing. So by all means, get involved. Tell your friends, and let us know how you feel, because it's always good to hear from you.
Well, Robert, we'll be telling absolutely everyone because we're loving what you're doing. We're loving the music.
Thank
you
so much. Thank you so much.
Feel. Wonderful. You have a blessed day, and we hopefully will be able to speak to you again when you want to, and we can talk about things further down the line, or new releases or anything.
Definitely.
And we'll stay in touch, and it's been lovely talking to you. Thank you so much.
My honor. Thank you.
You take care.
Keep the positive vibrations and energy alive, brother.
That's what we're doing, definitely, without a doubt.
Okay.
You take care.
Into the beyond.
And
we shall speak.
Fantastic. Take care now. Lovely speaking to you.